I saw that.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday, January 7th, 2025, and our first council meeting for the new year. Welcome aboard. Call for the quorum.
Mayor Fitzpatrick,
Here.
Councilmember Bowman,
We'll discuss the minute.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Here.
Councilmember Putt,
Here.
Councilmember Rubal,
Here.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Councilmember Bowman is on hard-earned vacation up north, and I'll take a motion to approve her absence.
Move to approve.
Second. Call for a vote.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Mayor Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Approved. Invocation tonight is going to be presented by Councilmember Putt. I think she has a guest,
I have a guest,
and then I will lead with the.
Mr. Mike Sands. Would you please do the honor?
Father, how we thank you, Lord. Thank you for putting us in a city where we can pray freely, Father. We can worship you freely. Lord, thank you for 2024 in our hallmark city of Universal City. Lord, we ask for 2025 that, number one, you bless our mayor and his family for health and keep them going, Father. We ask for a blessing for Kim Turner, our city manager, her entire staff, for our police department, our fire department. We have such amazing people. For our city council who give up their time and give up their time, Father. Father, they go out and they go to openings of new places and support the city entirely. Let that continue, Lord. And let us get together as a group, Father, as an entire city, come together and let every city around us look upon us and say, why are they so good? And when they're done trying to understand it, let them understand that it's the people. It's the people in our community, Lord, that you continue to bless, that make our city special. Lord, thank you for our leaders. Thank you for 2025, and we look forward to the amazing things that we're going to do together. Lord, we thank you in your precious name, Father. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have no one signed up for citizens to be heard, so we go directly into staff reports and discussion items.
Thank you, sir. On staff report, we're going to go ahead and start with Ms. Christine Green. She's going to do a couple of reports, an ARPA annual report, which we like to do this time of year, and then also the presentation of the fourth quarter financials. Thank you, Christine.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The city received a total of $5,181,363 in ARPA funds. To date, we've applied, to date, the way the funds were applied is a public emergency response of $2,519,733, water and sewer infrastructure of approximately $400,000, cybersecurity infrastructure of $759,000. Mental health officers, we've allocated $700,000 to them, and then the fire truck of $800,000. The remaining portion is going to be approximately $173,000. That is $140,000 for the fiscal year 26 for the mental health officers, and approximately $33,000 in interest. And what we're asking council to do is allow us to allocate whatever money is remaining in the ARPA fund. That again is $140,000 and approximately $33,000 in interest to the fiscal year 2026 budget for our mental health officers. Any questions?
Yes, ma'am. It's actually directed to the chief, if that's permissible. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, on the five-year capital purchase plan. Essentially, we're pretty much committed to $550,000 per year for FY 25-26 and 26-27. Plus, in addition to that, yet to be discussed and approved is the $100,000 per those 2 fiscal years, total of $200,000 for the recyclable brush truck. You and I have talked about what this item is, but I wonder if you could introduce what it is to council as a whole, and then I'll get back to.
Is that on the brush truck?
Yeah, it's actually, he's on the financial report.
That was the 100,000 over the 2-year allocation, is that correct?
Yes.
So what that is, that's in addition to the fire truck apparatuses that we purchased. So we have an old brush truck that was actually given to us years and years ago by the Public Works. It was a dump truck repurposed into a brush truck. So back then when we had got it, some of the firemen had the welding capabilities. They welded a homemade bed, made a bed for that old dump truck, and we converted it into a brush truck. The problem is it was recommended to us a couple of years ago that because of the age of this old truck, he's not able to get parts for it anymore. He was trying to find parts on eBay and stuff just to keep this old dump truck alive and running so we could use it as a brush truck. That was the first problem that we had with it. The second it is not 4-wheel drive and was never really designed to be a brush truck. So when we were taking off-road into the creek and the brush that we have up off 1604, we were getting the truck stuck in it because it was a 2-wheel truck. So what we would like to do is to replace this brush truck with a re-outfitting. We'd like to take the chassis of the rescue truck, which is a newer model, 4-wheel drive, and change that bed on it and put a brush truck bed on it, similar to what we did years ago with this, and try to get some more life out of the old rescue truck that we had.
You know, it was just positioning council to understand the requirements, the financial requirements that you'll be presenting in the future that will marry with this mental health person or transfer funds. Now, the way I understand the mental health position is that the 2 mental health officers are under the fire marshal.
That's not correct.
Not correct.
So we have 2 designated mental health. One of them is assigned to the police department and the other is assigned to the fire department.
Okay.
So we have 2 separate positions.
And my understanding is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is that the mental health positions officers are actually peace officers.
They are.
Number 1. And number 2 is probably the strength, and it only requires 24 hours of training if you meet the qualifications that are set forth by the TICO. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And most people coming out of the academies meet the city and the I can't remember. It's essentially de-escalation.
Correct. And it actually is not 24 hours. They have to go to an additional 40-hour course through the crisis to be a mental health officer. That crisis intervention training is a full 40-hour course. They're there Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day. It's a week-long solid training on top of the additional certifications they have to have through the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement as well to be a licensed peace officer to handle those crisis type situations that we handle in the city.
And following through, thank you for that correction. Basically on the TICO side, it's still listed as 24 hours.
That is for the general peace officer. So as a general peace officer who does not have that mental health training, you're correct. We are required to have that 24 hours every cycle. But if you're a mental health officer, that is above and beyond that general 24 hours that all police officers have to have.
Okay.
It's a 40-hour course for the mental health officers.
Now, the reason why a mental health officer has to be a police officer. Okay, now, this was a revelation to me, and I'm sharing it with council, is one of the functions that they perform, that can't be performed by an EMS person or whatever, is that they actually can, I may be using the wrong word, detain a person at risk. Is that a fair statement?
I would say that's a fair statement.
So basically, they would be, if somebody had to be committed to an institution,
And it has to be done by a police officer.
it has to be done by people. That's, it dawned on me today that was for that. And even if they were being transported by EMS, for example, type thing, the police officer, the mental health person would be responsible for moving that forward. Is that approximately right?
They follow the patient, yes, sir.
There's a lot of criteria that goes into
Right.
that, and Johnny could probably speak to that as well, a lot clearer, but
It's just the general sense that I'm trying to get a handle on. Now, the other thing that I read in the job descriptions of both the police and fire department is that the mental health officers are still members of essentially traffic management or within the fire department, whatever the routine duties are there. They're not excused from that unless there is a mental health issue, the way I
it's the
understand.
same with us in the fire department. Our guys are cross-trained, so they're not only handling mental health. For instance, our mental health designated officer in the fire department also is a certified fire inspector. He helps with fire inspections. We cross-train them to make sure that we're keeping them busy and able to handle all aspects.
Okay, and so here's the backdoor question. The backdoor question is, are we looking functionally at a little bit of a plus up as far as resources for both police and fire because of their roles? Because essentially the mental health challenges, although they can occur at any time, are probably not really numerous to take up perhaps a 1 or 2 days per week. What would the report be for that? I know we had a presentation approximately a year ago.
Mr. Rubal, I may be able to add some more color to that. So while the ARPA calls for the $140,000 for the 2 mental health officers, we actually have more than 2 who've gone through that additional training.
Perfect.
Because they're 24/7, 365 operations. You just can't have one
Perfect.
and not attend to everybody. So we have, I think, 4 or 5 mental health officers with that training and certification.
Perfect. Because my pitch would be to make sure that there was at least 1 per shift somewhere
There
in the
is.
city.
And they're quite frequent, and probably more frequent than you think, whether it starts as a disturbance that the officers are called out to, and it turns and escalates into some type of mental health crisis, as well as Schertz EMS has somebody trained that actually goes out with our mental health. They do in-home visits. There's a lot more that goes into it than just handling that day-to-day
Right.
type of crisis.
I'm tracking, because I don't want to catch us short on shift.
Yeah.
So that was my concern in the end. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
If I may caveat on that, this week, I had 3 unsolicited individuals come up from different parts of Universal City with kudos about our mental health program and how, especially the fire department, assisted them just recently. So just bring that out. I thought that was kind of nice, it's unsolicited.
It's always nice to hear that on the backside that they did.
I'm not signed up, but
You're there, huh?
I
He
mean,
wasn't one of them.
in 8 minutes, they were at my neighbor's house, and they followed up for another hour and a half and the next morning. So
It's a lot of follow-up.
it's more than kudos, and with the fact of the way they're handling it, I like the fact that we have all the resources inside our city, and we don't have to depend on outsource and call here to save a few bucks. So that's my personal observation, and I apologize for just busting out.
Appreciate
Mayor,
it, sir.
If there are no other comments, obviously, we need some direction from council about moving the $173,000 to the 2026 budget process. That's on your action item on your cover.
Do we do that by motion or?
Common acceptance is fine, consensus, we don't have to have a vote on it. Just direction.
I'm fine with it as long as it meets the obligation rule. It's like
Yes.
relatively, but if you've got a way around that, I'm fine with it.
I'm sorry?
If you have a way around it, I'm fine with it. But the obligation rule,
No,
but.
it's considered obligated because it's going to be budgeted.
Right, but I thought we had to do that before 12/31.
Well, but we have our claim for obligation, so I guess.
As long as you're comfortable with it,
I'm okay
fine.
with
comfortable.
Yes, sir, I'm okay with it.
I concur. Me too.
Okay, so financial report. Now, this is a fourth quarter financial report. Please keep in mind it is unaudited. We're still waiting for the audit to be completed so the numbers can change. But as of September 30th, the city had completed its fiscal year 2024. The unaudited revenue and expense summaries for the general, utility, stormwater, and golf course funds, as well as the investment report, are available for you to review. The general fund revenues exceeded expenditures by approximately $700,000. Now, that $700,000 can be attributed to additional sales tax revenue, interest income, which was over budget by $348,000. Ad valorem, we received an additional $132 because of the veteran exemption relief fund that comes from the state. Ad valorem year-to-date revenue was $8.9 million, which was 102 of the anticipated budget, but again, including the $132,000 that was from the veteran exemption relief fund. Utility fund revenues exceeded expenditures by $1.8 million. The total water revenue as of September 30th was $5.4 million, which was 116 of the budgeted amount. That could be attributed to the fact that we had such a drought this last summer, but it's really hard to say. When I did look at the consumption was greater for residential properties than it was for the last fiscal year. The total solar revenue was $4.8 million, which was 99% of the budget. Stormwater expenditures exceeded revenues by approximately $6,000. Total stormwater revenue was $839,000, which again was 102% of the budget. The golf course fund revenues exceeded expenditures by $225,000. And the investment report includes the beginning and ending balances, as well as any interest earned for the monthly bank accounts. And that's it.
Any comments?
I just have a comment, Mayor.
Yes.
I thank you for meeting with me yesterday, answering some of my questions. I appreciate it. And I just wanted to mention this for my fellow council members that my personal goal is to try to get the golf course operations to covering their own costs. And so sometimes it's kind of hard from this to tell, where we're at, like where are we now and how can we get there. But just looking at the financial statement, it's just my own personal math on this. It shows we have a surplus, but the venue tax is in there. So if you take out the venue tax and some of the one-time costs, it looks to me like we had a loss last year in the golf course of about $260,000. But that includes us paying the $310,000 to ourselves for admin overhead. So if you want to count that or don't count that, the golf course is pretty close to break even last year if you don't count the admin overhead. It was also not a very good year for rounds because of the construction that we had. I just wanted to point that out because as we're going through this process with the consultant and we're trying to find little areas for improvement, I think we have a lot of opportunity here to get the golf course to where it can cover its operating costs. And then phase 2 is capital costs, which is going to be harder. But as we're talking with the consultant, please keep that in mind, that we're not that far off. So if we can find some good areas for improvement, we can hopefully get there. Thank you.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Anything else? Any other comments? Any objections to accepting the report as is? Move to the next.
Good to go.
Who's on first?
I don't know, so I'm second.
Oh, you know, the firefighters do a lot of fundraising, Build a Boot, pancake breakfast, and a lot of times people don't understand where that money goes. And so I, at the request of many people, have asked Chief Warren to come and kind of talk about the Volunteer Fire Association and the Burnout Fund. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. So I guess just a little history and a little background of what the Burnout Fund is and how it was established is, so the Universal City Professional Firefighters established a professional association. What that association does each year is the pancake breakfasts twice a year. And they take the money that is raised for that, after buying their expenses for the pancake breakfast, they take this money and they deposit it into their association account, and it supports what we call the Burnout Fund. Here just recently, I know y'all saw in the news, we had a fire in Buckingham. He had mentioned to me that they wrote a check to that family for $500 to help them get those first few days of supplies until the insurance kicks in. A lot of times, as we're running out of the house when they're on fire, a lot of times some of the simple things like toothpaste and toothbrush and shoes and clothes, and a lot of times what that money from the Burnout Fund will do is go and get them the necessities until the insurance. A lot of times they'll take and put a family up for 2 or 3 nights in a hotel room until that insurance can kick in. We work hand in hand with Red Cross as well to see what they can do for them to help them get out. But this Burnout Fund has been in place for years, and it is. I've seen it work time and time again. I was telling firefighter Gromley earlier, one of the stories that really sticks out with me is a fire similar to the one at Buckingham. It was just days before Christmas. The family had 7 little daughters. They lost everything in the house, and these guys went and put them in a hotel room and took that money, went and shopped at Walmart and wrapped all of the presents, and then went and delivered them to the hotel room so that family had a Christmas that year. And I get choked up thinking about it and talking about it. It is amazing. These little kids thought they lost everything in that fire, and these guys made a Christmas happen in like 2 days. Went, shopped, wrapped, and went back and celebrated. They drove up in the fire truck and delivered all these presents to the kids. So it was amazing. But that is what that Burnout Fund does. And all of the money that they raise, they buy their supplies for pancake breakfast. It's hosted there at the fire station, and the money goes into their account to keep supporting this fund. So.
And you will take donations from residents.
Absolutely.
After the Buckingham, we had a lot of requests. You know, we had this and we had that. And then we talked about the Burnout Fund, and they were going, can we make donations? So I want to make sure we get that out.
Checks dropped off at the fire station, and they're made out to that Professional Firefighters Association. They have their own account, and we hand them that check, and their treasurer of that account will go deposit that money into that account. And they do random audits on the books. And I know that they just had a recent transfer of treasurer. Lieutenant Lewis, who recently retired, was treasurer for years. So the first thing they did is had an audit of the books just to make sure everything's on the up and up, and they transferred that and did an audit, and everything was good, and the new treasurer took over and continues that process. So we hope for many, many more years of keeping this Burnout Fund going, because it does amazing things. So.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. The next one we have is Ms. Maribel, and she's going to go ahead and give you the annual update on the open records requests. And she did put, there was a couple of date changes she made on her page, so we'll let her talk about all the work she's been doing on that behalf.
So Hi, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. I'm reporting on behalf of myself and the work that we do in the city clerk's office, and also on behalf of Tony Seco in the police department, who does a ton of work. Really, the amount of open records requests that she receives is incredible. So, as you see in the report, the one date change that we had is that the number of requests have increased 41% since fiscal year 2022, not 21-22. So that's since this last year, increased 41%. Since fiscal year 17-18, since we've been tracking it, it's increased 787%. So quite the increase. We only expect it to go up more. And part of that is due to population increase. The more the city grows, the more residents we have to request records, so that's expected. The good news is that even though staff spent approximately 562 hours fulfilling open records requests and 70 entire workdays, we went down on our average of amount of hours spent per request. So last year we were at about 0.44 hours spent on each request. This year, we're at 0.39 hours spent on each request, and that can be attributed to increased experience with the Spillman software. That's the software that the police department uses to fulfill their records requests. On my end, there's increased experience with the Barracuda emailing archiver, and also just increased experience in general with open records requests. So we've been able to fulfill them a lot quicker. So just plain numbers, this year the city clerk's office fulfilled 226 records requests and spent 143 hours on records requests. The police department fulfilled 1,207 records requests, and they spent, 104 hours, I believe. 418 hours fulfilling records requests. So, do we have any questions?
Any questions, Rubal?
You just answered them by saying how much PD has versus
Yes.
city.
Yeah, so they have the majority of our records requests.
I like the way you turned the positive into using the opportunity to learn different computer programming.
Yeah, and we have some good news coming up that we have partnered with Civic Plus to do Next Request. So Next Request is a software that's going to help us kind of automate, or not automate because there's still people behind all of the work, but it helps us with our workflows. So I can receive a records request and assign it to somebody else. It helps us with our timelining. So those should be getting out a lot faster.
But still, bottom line, correct me if I'm wrong, you're spending approximately a half an hour per report on a report that is, even as citizen has a right to ask for, but it's taking you away from doing the regular job that you're hired for. So that's just my comment. Appreciate it, though. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
That's over. Now we're going to city manager announcements.
Yes, sir, thank you. I have a few. Start off with kudos to the Public Works Department. They did recently receive a $100,000 grant that is to look at a design that would bring the reuse water that we have already in place, a design or pathway to get it to some of our parks, so we can be using reused water in there. So again, it's just the design portion of it, but you have to have a design in order to get the actual work done. So kudos to them on that, and also kudos to Public Works. They learned today that the application that they made to Bear County for the Flintstone reconstruction project, it was awarded. The total project is $812,000, and for that, on the CBDG funds, they were awarded $406,000 for 50% of the project, which is a big deal for the city. So thanks to them, and thanks to Bear County for making that happen. On the comp plan, I just want to keep giving regular updates on that. So we've had, at this point, 6 what we call subject matter teleconferences. We have one more remaining that will close that out. I think the last one we have is infrastructure. And today we did transportation, and we did economic development and a few others before the holidays. So we're done with those. And as a reminder, again, February 13th, we hope that you have it on your calendar, is the joint workshop with Planning and Zoning and City Council. That is going to be at the library. We're using the large meeting room so that you can do your work with a consultant, and anyone from the public who would like to come and observe, there's plenty of room for them as well. In order to prepare for that meeting, Michael has been doing a development update, kind of past and moving forward, what we have done and what we're currently working on. And so he did that for planning and zoning last night. He did it for the EDC on Thursday. And when we get to the 21st, we'll be doing that presentation for city council. So you can have some of that in your mind as you go into that particular meeting. And then the other thing with the comprehensive plan, so February 15th is Snowfest, so there will be a comprehensive plan booth inside of Snowfest, because what a great time to capture families with young children, grandparents with grandchildren, and things of that nature. And so that'll be like kind of one of the first big public gatherings that we have. And then I know that we're working with the consultants to identify other locations. We'll be having those as well for the public to participate. So we'll announce those. And I have forgotten, has that website launched yet?
No, that should launch probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so before Snowfest, the UC Vision 35 website will launch also, and that the consultants will keep them updated on everything that's taken place, information that's been gathered, and then future meetings that the public can attend as well. Okay, that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move into, I guess I'm going to start out with the mayor's announcements. Just a note, we've got an influx of ribbon cuttings coming up in the future. And I realize it's really kind of an inconvenience sometimes for all the council members to get there, but I really highly encourage you, if you have the opportunity. I know the business owners really appreciate seeing the council members there with their ribbon cuttings and everything else. And we've really done a really good job in the last few months of really updating our responses, going out there with the people and being more than just one or two. It's really a nice little deal. But we've got some really good ones coming up there. But if you get the opportunity to go, please try to participate, because I know that people really appreciate it. Another thing one of my favorite things to do as being mayor is really highlighting all the great things that our citizens do. Even some of their achievements. And we've got an achievement that's just accomplished. Ms. Christine Green, if you'd like to stand up, take a bow.
Sure, up front.
Christine has earned. I got a little thing here to read. It's got it in there, but it's really important. I mean, extremely important for the Universal City. It's a big step for the city itself. Christine Green has earned Certified Government Finance Officer certification, advancing financial management in Universal City. The City of Universal City proudly announces that she has earned the certification of Government Finance Officer, which is the CGFO certification. This distinguished credential underscores her commitment to excellence and her deep understanding of public sector finance. The CGFO certification program evaluates the proficiency in a broad range of governmental financial topics, combining professional experience with academic knowledge. Through this achievement, Christine has demonstrated expertise in critical areas such as governmental accounting, auditing, financial reporting, key elements that support the city's financial operation. Her knowledge and skills ensure that the Universal City finance practices comply with generally accepted accounting principles and upholds the rigorous standards set forth by the Government Finance Association, Officers Association, and Texas chapter. With the CGFO Certified Finance Director at the helm, Universal City is better equipped to deliver accurate, transparent, and reliable financial information to its residents. Christine's proficiency enhances the city's capacity to manage resources effectively, ensuring the taxpayer funds are used efficiently, responsibly, for the benefit of the community. Come in around. It was a nice trip. It was a nice trip. Take that. We'll make sure that.
Wow,
A
beautiful.
small token of our appreciation from the staff.
Those are gorgeous. Sorry, I feel like a proud mother.
Each of our sections and departments have they have basic training that is required, and then there's additional training within their organizations. And I feel that it's really, really important that we take advantage and recognize when our different employees reach those different levels, because it's a big feather in the city's cap going forward. And that's all I have, and we'll turn it over to the council. And Ms. Putt, you had the prayer tonight, so we'll start with you.
Well, okay. I really not a lot going on because we're all recovering from the holidays. I just want to say how proud I am of really every department in this city. We learned so much about the burnout fund during the pancake breakfast. I mean, we always knew about it, but they taught us. They sat down with us and explained it to us. And it's such a fantastic organization that you have. You have such a fantastic team. They're in it with their hearts, and it just makes you feel good to be around them and see how they interact. And I'm just, all of you, Christine, you came in at a really hard time, and look what you have done. We're so proud of you and your achievements. And Michael, development, everyone is just, our communications, it's just a feel-good place where we're at right now. And thank you for, filling us in on the golf course. It's nice to see that 2025 is starting, and the light is starting to really glow. It's not that tunnel. The vision is out there. And I'm just really proud of everyone in this city. I really am. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mayor Burton?
Thank you. I was just going to comment. I really appreciate, I know we had that kind of meeting of the minds where we met at the library and kind of talked about ways we can improve things. And I really see the communication has stepped up, and I like the agendas coming out of the way we're getting them, but also just getting us the ribbon cuttings and putting them on our calendars, and all of those things I think make us look more effective and can better serve the community. And so I just appreciate all the efforts that are going into helping us be better. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rubal.
I had the pleasure of attending the volunteer appreciation event in December. Just overwhelmed by the sincerity and efforts of all the volunteers that work with our city. And essentially, I mentioned that they truly provide the strength of the heartbeat for the city, and can't say more than enough about them. I also would like to appreciate, I'd also like to do a shout out for, even though we have disagreements, essentially our staff. I know that they're committed to improving Universal City. We may disagree on what should happen first or long term, but their hearts also are in it. And with that, I turn it over to that.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Putt?
I'll say ditto.
Really? That was fun.
Oh, I don't know what you're gonna do now.
Double ditto.
It's like a negative.
Oh, man, that's all bad.
It's kind of like that over the Christmas holiday, where the Grinch's heart grew how many times?
That's right, that's right.
Oh, and Mr. Mayor, I don't want Randy to think that I wasn't appreciating public works. Your guys are amazing. I mean, they work so hard, and I got you, Randy.
Okay, let's just go. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Okay, let's go to the consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine by City Council and will be enacted in one motion. There'll be no separate discussions for the items. Call for
Move to approve.
Second.
and got it down. Any discussion? Call for vote.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Then under action items, bid acceptance for the Red Horse parking lot
for improvements, like 4 improvements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight you have before you the bid acceptance for the Red Horse Park parking lot, which is our parking lot number 4, we're calling it. Improvements, this is the last phase of improving the parking lot in Red Horse Park. So if you're familiar with it, it would be, I would say, the south side. It's the alleyway that we're going to be improving and adding headed parking along where the playground areas are. We went out to bid. We had a total of 11 bidders. We did have a low bidder that was deemed non-responsive due to the incomplete package. So we are recommending the next lowest bidder, which is in the amount of $305,839.72 to West Hill Paving Incorporated for the Red Horse Park parking lot 4 improvements. And we did include $380,000 in our budget this year for this project.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Randy, about Parks Lane, what is the magnitude of the total commitment to the Red Horse and the surrounding area where the Frisbee golf is? Approximately how much has gone into that so far? Since,
Dollar-wise, or?
Yeah, in all.
You're catching it, I wouldn't have that number in my head.
We can get you that number, Mr. Rubal.
Okay, yeah, one of the things that, with your hat as Parks Director, if a thought, and the thought is when you walk upstairs in the fire department, essentially you see that their exercise area is probably one of the least amenable to getting a structure up there if somebody has a problem. And I was thinking that there's kind of a military standard that may help out here. And I've seen it in other places too, and that is some of that equipment might be distributed on the grounds, kind of in a park-like scenario type thing. So there could be, I don't even know what you would call it.
The exercise.
We do have that in Red Horse Park.
Yes, but I meant actually for the staff, the fire department and police staff, to kind of get rid of some of the congestion in that second or third floor area. I can't remember where I said. Yeah, it's non-air conditioned. It's.
I can talk to you. I just need to get this awarded tonight, but we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And you'll see firehouse modifications in the capital projects list when we roll out the 5-year budget for you. That'll address those issues.
They don't need extra air conditioning.
Stop. Was that a good enough pitch for you, Tom? Is that a good enough pitch for you?
Hey, Randy, I didn't see a drawing in the packet, so can you just clarify, is it gonna go all the way from North Boulevard to Cibolo Trail?
Yes.
So you'll be driving either way?
Yes.
What about across Cibolo Trail? Is there a plan to continue it and go up?
Yeah, so we also have in the budget to master plan out the UC Park, the rest of the UC Park, so that's in our budget. So we'll be planning to, in that design where it's gonna connect together, also walking trails that will connect Red Horse to UC Park there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And then if you would, thank you for letting me harass you earlier about the numbers. I just was, on the thing, it says the values in red are the corrected values. And so was that mathematical errors from the different?
Yes, there was 6 actually bidders that had mathematical errors. We did contact D&D because their number came in much lower, but they weren't going to honor that corrected number because they said the bid, they left out profit, overhead, and indirect general conditions out of their bid. So they said the number that they wrote, which is 398, would be their bid, not the reflected.
Thank you very much.
Good job. No other discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Hillview pay application number 3.
Yes, sir. This is for our CBDG project and of course for Hillview, which is, the project's about 50% done. So we have to have a council approval in order to submit the pay application number 3 and get reimbursed.
Move to approve.
Second. Discussion? Call for the vote.
Councilmember Vaughan,
Aye.
Councilmember Goolsby,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Fitzpatrick,
Aye.
Councilmember Putt,
Aye.
Councilmember Rubal.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And the last is Xeriscape discussion only. Do we have
It's
any?
the request made by Mr. Rubal.
So,
Turn it over to Mr. Rubal for, give us the general parameters.
Yeah, within, actually, this is going to complement what was in email to council, and I just pulled 2 emails, and they have the data in there from the municipal energy and water use for Universal City from 2020 to 2023. And basically, and the mayor and I actually caught this at a prior meeting, but between 2021 and 2022, effectively, if you average the 2 years around that area, there was a 45% increase in our water consumption rate in the city. But an email from another resident, essentially, the number of residents have not increased during that same period of time, or very close to the same. So we face, obviously, a chronic water shortage area and time, and I'm concerned with development that we're going to be irrigating more land that's never been irrigated before. So basically, I would like us to consider requiring, beginning at a minimal rate and adjusting it up, some degree of xeriscaping within any development. And then as times perhaps get worse, the water scarcity increases more to ramp up the xeriscape requirements. So not only are we fighting Mother Nature, but we're fighting the surrounding communities that will be consuming the water that we had in the past. I'm also concerned about essentially the cost of water with the increased development. So basically anything that we can do to reduce water utilization in our city, established areas, and particularly the developed the areas that are going to be developed, I think the further ahead that we will be in the future. The downside is essentially you don't find native insects, going to Mr. Goolsby, native insects, native plants in xeriscaping. The downside, however, of development is that you have rooftops that are covering areas where there was natural environment in the past. So the long and short of it is I'd like the city to consider a requirement for xeriscaping that's kind of matched with our water requirement needs. So as the city requires more water for development, essentially the requirement for xeriscaping goes up. And I would welcome the city to bring in an expert in the field to discuss this with council, because it's actually beyond my scope of training. But I think we have a need for, based on just our increase in water usage and Randy's running out buy water from farmers now, ranchers now, at least two ranchers, I think, Randy. So that needs increasing, but our population hasn't increased during this in area. And I'd love to see a water audit to find out where that 45% increase in water occurred, to maybe get a handle on that. I don't know if I can ask Randy's people to do that. But it's clear from the data from the municipal energy usage for the city of Universal, published by the state, that an increase did occur during that period of time. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yeah, I can totally see where something like that would be a benefit to the city, to have an understanding of where that water usage and what's going on with it. I have no issues with ideas of requiring developments to have a percentage of xeriscaping. I do think we're not quite in Phoenix territory where it's 100%, but if somebody wants to, I mean, more power to them. I mean, that's fantastic, but I don't feel like that's the 100% is a requirement, but if, having a percentage allocated would be fantastic.
Comments?
Still, I'm processing. I'll go first.
I have a little bit of a hesitation when I hear the word require. It makes me make me pucker a little bit. But if we wanted to do a incentivize, if somebody wanted to rip up their property and xeriscape it, maybe we can give them some kind of credit on their utility bill or something. I'd be interested in those kinds of programs. I know SAWS has some things like that I haven't studied on, but if somebody wanted to bring us some ideas of how do we encourage people to do that rather than forcing it, and then see if that is working. I think part of the problem with the development is we're almost built out, so that's not going to be, we're not going to have that many opportunities, so it's going to be more of the existing properties and what they're willing to do with them. But I'm open to the idea of some kind of grant or for people to do it.
Yeah, I was going to say, it would be interesting to see if there are grants available that we could take advantage of or encourage people to take advantage of, or offering some sort of incentive here. I too struggle with that we are so close to build out that it would penalize people coming in to have an increased cost potentially when we're trying to get them to develop, and I wouldn't want to chase people away as we're trying to be thoughtful in who we're attracting in. But I do see that it could be, I love the incentivize people if they're going to do something to their own property, because that's where we're going to have the bigger bang for our buck anyway, because that's 95% of our land versus the 5% that we still probably have that's not developed.
Or even look for corporate grants that maybe can be funneled through the EDC for our businesses if they want to look at it like that. But really, if a company wanted to come in and make changes, that there might be grants available to them to come in and make those changes. I think everyone on the dais right now has had some really good ideas about it. It's just something to look forward to. But yeah, we're almost built up.
Would this be restricted just to business owners, or what about property owners?
It would be the different kind of grants, whatever you can get, yeah.
Yeah, because EDC, if residential.
The EDC, I understand, I'm talking about the incentives.
I think it'd be tied to how much water they use. If it's a business that doesn't have any, grass out front, then you wouldn't really want to incentivize them. Then you might be targeted to say, like, if your water bill is this much, it's a percentage of how much you're reducing your water bill or something.
It's a good start point. It's a good start point.
It's definitely worth carrying that forward.
The discussion.
So
Be interesting. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, my question is, what as a council, what would you like the staff to do, provide?
I'd like to ask staff if they could invite a member of SAWS or some water conservation group in that may help flush out this potential for our city.
We can find, so this is what I heard, yes, that one. Also, Mr. Rubal indicated that maybe we should go back in, I don't know if it's a 5 or 6 year period, and historically look at the water usage and maybe see if we can tie that to some of the development increase to understand how the water is being used residentially and commercially. And then, somebody more of a water expert usage, whether it's for xeriscaping and that. And then maybe look for some existing incentives for xeriscaping for residential and commercial, and particularly with the commercial already having to have a certain amount of ground cover or impervious cover available in order to qualify for it. Because you're right, I started thinking about McDonald's when you said that, or Chester's. They have no landscaping. They have a couple of bushes or something around with a plant in it. There would be no way they would be able to xeriscape, but.
Yeah, and a shout out to the resident, Ms. Jan Hughes, who actually focused council on this issue about a year and a half or 2 years ago before I got in the dais. I picked up on that from her, so credit to that resident.
And for anyone who's having a fear, we're not talking about looking like Arizona. If anybody's been to Arizona, that is not xeriscaping. So people sometimes have a wrong impression of what it means. But yeah, we'll start working and put something together and then give you an indication when we can have that on the agenda.
Any other comments or questions?
Wow, at 7:29, meeting adjourned.
Love it. How about that? Say what?
Say what?